First in the nation, New Hampshire is in the books. Donald Trump got more than 2 times the vote of the guy who came in second, Ohio's John Kasich. Cruz followed in third, with Bush, the mentor, edging out Rubio, the mentee. On the Democratic side, it was Bernie Sanders in a 22-point landslide. And once again, the herd is being culled. Carly Fiorina is suspending her campaign, and Chris Christie joined her in Suspension City. As Emily Rooney reports, New Hampshire has made its mark.
Not that they've been slackers in the past, but this time you really got to hand it to the voters of New Hampshire. They did their homework and they spoke, giving voice to Democrat Bernie Sanders.
We harnessed the energy and the excitement that the Democratic Party will need to succeed in November.
And Republican Donald Trump.
You know, we learned a lot about ground games in 1 week, I have to tell you.
Beyond speaking, New Hampshire voters listened, and some of what they heard from Marco Rubio they didn't like. While his town meetings were hugely popular, his repetitious blunder at last Saturday's debate dropped him to a 5th-place finish.
It's on me. I did not do well on Saturday night, so listen to this. That will never happen again.
We'll see about that come this Saturday night. Meanwhile, Rubio's loss was John Kasich's gain, catapulting him from the bottom ranks to a 2nd-place finish.
You made it happen. You made it happen. You made it happen.
Kasich spent an extraordinary amount of time and money in New Hampshire, connecting with moderate Republicans and people who hadn't made up their minds.
Let us count our blessings as Americans.
Meanwhile, time and money and an endorsement from Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker did nothing to help New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
We've decided that we're going to go home to New Jersey tomorrow, and we're going to take a deep breath.
Not taking a breather, Jeb Bush, who inched to 4th place just behind Ted Cruz.
And while the reality TV star is still doing well, it looks like you all have reset the race, and for that I am really grateful.
So now it's off to South Carolina for most of the pack, including Hillary Clinton.
I know I have some work to do, particularly with young people, but I will repeat again what I have said this week. Even if they are not supporting me now, I support them.
That's no joke. Clinton lost a 56% lead over Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire in just 6 months. Her campaign is reportedly undergoing a reboot.
Emily joins me now, along with Marjorie Egan and Adam Riley, all fresh off just a couple of hours sleep and the drive back from New Hampshire. I mean this in the nicest way, but I'm tired of seeing all 3 of you, to tell you the truth. No, I am. Can I start with you? Sure. Sanders won every single demographic except people over 65 and families over 200 grand. He swept everything else. Why?
I think it's an authenticity thing. I talked to a whole bunch of people over the course of the weekend who thought that Hillary Clinton seems calculated. She seems like she's trying to say what people want to hear. Bernie Sanders, just like Donald Trump on the other side, comes across as someone who's speaking his mind, isn't worried about the consequences. I think people warmed to that. Also, the sense of entitlement from the Clinton campaign, which was palpable throughout. They're paying a huge price for it.
I know you buy part of that, but it was in part the damage done by the Madeleine Albrights and the Gloria Steinems. Did that bring her down while he was coming up?
Well, I think it reminded people of all this Clinton drama that surrounded the whole time Bill Clinton was in the White House, and here we go again. We got things about women and older women and younger women and stuff like that. And also, you know, this was, Bernie Sanders is the Occupy Wall Street campaign kind of come to the fruition. And I think Hillary Clinton never got that, never got the idea of the 99 and the 1%. She's late to the game. This is becoming a big deal. You see it on both sides, actually. And Bernie Sanders tapped into that whole spirit seamlessly.
Speaking of the 99%, the Wall Street thing did help do her in, did it not? When she was asked at the town hall, why'd you take that much money for the speeches? Well, that's what they offered. The next night, Chuck Todd is asking her, are you going to release all the speeches from Goldman Sachs and elsewhere? She says, quote, I'll look into it. That didn't help.
You know, Jim, there's just a detachment there, you know, sort of an effete kind of, you know, she's not accessible. She's detached, and even though she tries...
What do you mean by not accessible?
You, as media people, or even as regular people, you can't get near the Clintons. All the other candidates were walking around, glad-handing. They were bumping us in, you know. I said John Kasich was in the coffee shop yesterday morning, just walking around, saying hello to everybody.
Trump was in the lobby yesterday.
Chris Christie
Jeb Bush
shakes the hand of every media person. He doesn't care whether you're a regular person or one of us. He makes sure he connects with you. He looked at my badge. You want to know who I was? That's, she has none of that.
And she was in our hotel, supposedly, on the 12th floor.
No, she was,
and we never saw her once
No.
because they snuck in and they snuck out.
You know what I think that is? I think they started out arguing that inside the Clinton campaign, this is hers to win. She is going to be the nominee unless somebody screws this up. So let's take every precaution to make sure nothing goes wrong. There's no act of God. And you can't do that. You can't do that. She's in a bubble and she needs to get out.
Despite that, she is standing by her side, arguably the greatest retail politician of our lifetime, Bill Clinton. Most people think, including a lot of her supporters, he did damage with the thing about vulgarities from the trollers and sexism and attacking Sanders. Does she lose Bill or just try to rein in Bill? What does she do? I don't mean lose him in a big way. I mean in a campaign kind of way.
I thought he was her ace in the hole in the sense that you think you get the twofer. You get Hillary Clinton and you get the guy who is the brilliant politician, the brilliant campaigner, who had a pretty good term and was very popular until recently. And now you see him in the campaign trail. I mean, he was intentional with the Obama thing about South Carolina and comparing his win to Jesse Jackson. I think that was an intentional thing. Now you think he's just maybe lost his fastball. So that's another problem for her. Is Bill going to help her or hurt her?
Did you either of you see him live?
I did.
You did?
I saw him. We both did, I guess.
Yeah, you saw him a little bit earlier. I mean, he didn't have a honed message whatsoever. He was rambling. He was talking, he was wonky stuff about Hillary Clinton. And I said, Chelsea Clinton had preceded him at the event I was in. She was terrific, very personal about her mother and personable at the same time. I felt a connection with Hillary. Chelsea Clinton.
That's how he was the
with
time I saw him.
Bill.
It was the first time he was on the campaign trail, and right off the bat, I thought, and you could see people in the media area were looking at each other, were kind of going, "Ooh, geez, this isn't the guy we remember." He looks tired. He rambles. He was, gave this long speech talking about articles he'd read. He talked about 2 or 3 articles he'd read. The crowd was not into it. I remember vividly one young woman standing behind him, college age, yawning, fighting to say. She did it again and again and again. It was a perfect embodiment.
One last thing on the Democratic side. When you spoke to Sanders supporters, was there notion we can achieve these goals or we don't care if we can achieve these goals? This is a guy who is aiming for the stars. What's the sense any of you got? Anybody?
I didn't speak to a single Sanders supporter.
You didn't? How about you, Adam?
I did speak to Sanders supporters, and, I actually didn't delve into the sort of viability of his worldview very much, but it came up sometimes. People would say, oh, well, there weren't any socialists in such and such a Scandinavian country, and then one was elected and everything changed. What struck me in the conversations I had with Sanders supporters is I think a lot of them will not be there for Clinton if she is ultimately the nominee. And I'm talking in particular about young women I spoke with who said, I really don't like being told that I need to vote for the woman because I'm a woman, and I could never vote for Hillary Clinton.
Same huge millennial divide in New Hampshire as there was in Iowa. 70 points in Iowa, 60-something in New Hampshire. Let's return to the 2 winners for a second and the ties that bind them. Even though Trump both congratulated and then savaged Sanders' agenda last night, this morning they were simpatico. Here's Trump, followed by Sanders last night. Here he is.
We're being ripped off by everybody, and I guess that's the thing that Bernie Sanders and myself have in common. We know about the trade, but unfortunately he can't do anything to fix it, whereas I will. The only thing he does know, and he's right about, is that we're being ripped off, and he says that constantly. And I guess he and I are the only two that really say that.
The people of New Hampshire have sent a profound message to the political establishment, to the economic establishment, and, by the way, to the media establishment. It is just too late for the same old establishment politics and establishment economics. The people want real change.
Marjorie, I know this gives some Sanders and Trump supporters hives, but they are 2 sides of the same coin, at least on this issue, right?
Again, it's this realization late to the establishment Republicans, or late, I don't think they've gotten it yet, and late to Hillary Clinton, that the middle class, as Elizabeth Warren said over and over again, is getting hammered, is getting squeezed. You can't pay your bills. Your kids are in debt coming out of college. And so Trump is talking about trade deals. He's talking about the fact you used to be able to go to work in a good manufacturing job and support your family. That's all done. He says because of bad deals he's going to fix. And he's the art of the deal, maybe he can.
Also, Trump had the dream night. I mean, not only did he win by a crushing margin, more than 2-1, as I said a couple of minutes ago, the guy who was charging at him, Marco Rubio, some people thought he'd even eclipse him in New Hampshire, drops down after that Saturday night debacle.
Yeah, so
it
much
can't
for that,
get
right?
any better for Trump. It's a twofer, no?
The only area where I disagree with you is I think we're reaching a point now where people are starting to drop out. We mentioned Carly Fiorina, Chris Christie. That's what needs to happen for someone to make a real run at knocking Trump off. It's not going to happen when the race stays as packed as it is, but it's changing. So that's the only negative development for Trump.
You know, the most impressive thing about the Trump supporters I saw there, other than the raw note, I kept giving you credit for this. You didn't deserve it. Mike Dean, our colleague.
I like the way you framed that.
I'm sorry, but it's true. Well, Mike Dean interviewed a 60-something guy who had never voted in his whole life, who was voting for Trump. I mean, not everybody's that story. That's the essence of this. We're returning to politics, they say. We're entering politics for the first time. That's what's fueling this machine, is it not?
You know, when I was up yesterday talking to voters in Laconia, it was interesting that some people didn't want to tell me who they voted for, so when I was prompting them, was it Donald Trump? When they wanted to say no, they said it very, very emphatically. But then the people who were very proud to have voted, you know, stepped right up and said, you know, I voted for Trump, and they would always tell you why. Not just give you that one word. He's going to get it done. He makes a promise, he's going to get it done. He's going to build that wall. He's going to make America great again. He's going to bring jobs back.
So
he's going to stick it to China and Japan.
So while all of us media types say he really can't do what he said he's going to do, the
it.
people who support him believe it, yes?
It looks that way, and I think, you know, the idea that you are able to negotiate all these great deals, that you can translate this to Vladimir Putin, I don't know. I find it hard to believe, but I mean, government doesn't work anymore in a lot of people's minds. The cops work, the firefighters work. People don't trust the schools. People don't trust the state government. They don't trust the federal government. The TSA is screwing everything up. You look at what does work, and I think there's a frustration that comes out of that goes to a Sanders, even though he's been in the government for a long time, and a Trump who's not.
I was talking to Trump supporters at the rally last night. It is really remarkable how acute their sense of despair is, and they genuinely believe he's the guy to turn it around. Meanwhile, I just read before the show, Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton among people with household incomes under $50,000, 2-1.
Yeah.
Very telling.
Nice to see you all. I think we should take a
We're
little break.
sick of it,
Don't you think,
right?
from us? See you in a couple of days.
Thanks, Trevor.
Emily, Marjorie, Adam, great to see all three of you.